Hey guys, I just wanted to share a few words of encouragement and just a piece of my testimony. I just want you guys to know how valuable you are, how precious you are, how loved you are. You are so loved that Jesus came to die for you so that you could live with him for all eternity. And this is true. This is the real truth. No matter what the world says. And I can tell you that I have a testimony that God is real and he saved my life. I went through 9 years of severe clinical depression and anxiety and panic attacks for 9 years straight. Every single day. Torment, hell, lies, self-hatred, negativity, all bombarding my mind every single day for years. No comfort. And the only way that I could find some kind of temporary relief was just through reading books, listening to music. Sometimes I would drink too much because I just wanted to numb the pain. Just anything that you could think of, that in the worldly terms that you would just try to distract yourself from anything that you're going through. I did it. And but I'm telling you that God can do anything. I used to take strong medications for depression, for anxiety, for bipolar disorder. These were the diagnoses that several doctors and counselors had given me. And I didn't want to live anymore. Going through years of that kind of pain, and you just feel like there's no purpose for you sometimes, when you're going through that. You just don't see what other people see. You see yourself as a big mistake. That's how I saw myself every single day. I hated myself. I hated living. I hated breathing. Every time I would go to bed, I would pray to God because I still had some kind of belief in him, but I didn't really know him. I didn't have a real relationship with Jesus. But from my Catholic background, I knew that, he existed through some of the time that I went through this. But I would pray every night and I would ask him, God, just let me die in my sleep. Don't let me wake up the next morning. And I would go to sleep wishing that would be my last night alive. And that's what I went through for years. Every single night I would pray that. And there was a time that I did become agnostic. I was agnostic for a short time, and then I started to dabble with New Age. I started to feel like I was more spiritual. I wasn't able to really classify myself as agnostic totally, but I've always been a spiritual person. So spirituality, of the New Age and some of the occult did attract me. So I dabbled a little bit in that, with crystals and reading about energy and auras and all that kind of stuff. Even with mediums, channeling spirits, spirit guides. That's as far as I went with the New Age and occult. But what I really was doing, I was trying to find the truth, but I was just so bombarded by, all the depression, anxiety, and pain that I just couldn't see clearly, and there's other people that don't go through these kinds of issues that do get interested in that kind of spirituality. But this is my story, and this is what I went through. And that was the reason why I started to be attracted to those kinds of things. And I just wanted to I was very attracted to everything dark. Everything, if it was, the color black, skulls, vampires, witch stuff. Like, I was interested in it, and I don't say this, as a way of judging others who dress, alternatively with gothic or punk clothes or anything like that. I'm not judging by appearance. God judges the heart, and I know that. But this is my experience, and this is what I went through. I resembled the darkness that I felt inside every single day. All the darkness, all the death, all the depression. And it's like, even though I didn't consciously know that outside, inside, like, that's what I would do. I kind of, like, in a way, I just wanted everybody to leave me alone. But then at the same time, I really genuinely wanted people to love me, but I just wouldn't admit it. So while I dressed a certain way, I colored my hair black, and everything was always black, everything, from head to toe. Everything I owned was black, or had skulls, or I painted my nails black, everything. It wasn't the real me, and I didn't realize it at the time. I felt like I was expressing myself, but I just felt lost and alone, and I was searching for myself, and I was searching. What I really didn't know at the time was that I was searching for the truth, not just for myself, but for the truth, and I attempted suicide twice. One time I tried to cut myself while I was a teenager, tried to cut myself in the bathroom, cut my wrist. And I told God right before I did it, before I would attempt to do it with a knife, I told him, if you're real, stop me. And I went ahead and tried to cut my wrist, and it didn't work. The knife wouldn't even cut, and it was a sharp knife. And there's no logical way to explain why the knife did not cut me that day. It was God. It was totally God who stopped me from committing suicide, from dying or hurting myself, not even a scratch. And second time, I did attempt it later on down the road, because the pain was just too intense. I felt like I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't take it anymore. It hurt too much to live and breathe. I'd ask God to just please breathe for me, because I just didn't want anything to do with it. Life. I just hated life. I hated people. I hated everybody. And second time I attempted it was with pills, because I was taking a lot of medications for anxiety and depression and bipolar disorder. And so I went ahead and tried to take a whole bottle of one of my pills. And then a couple of friends stopped me. So through other people, God used other people to intervene to stop me from ending my life. And I thank God now, I thank God today that he did save my life, that he did intervene supernaturally and through other people to stop me, because I know now that I have a purpose and there is a plan for me. And I know now that I can help others. And God gave me a brand new mind. One day, I encountered God's real unfailing love in his presence like I've never have before. I encountered his presence at a woman's God encounter at one of the churches that my mom and I had been invited to. And at first I was cynical. I hated churches. I hated most Christians. I hated them because they all looked fake to me. All I've ever known of them were just hypocrites. Those were all the Christians that I had met in my life, in the past. And I never really saw the real deal. I never saw the real deal before. I never experienced it. I never experienced his presence. I didn't know what it meant to have a real relationship with Jesus. I didn't know what it meant to fellowship with him. None of that made sense to me. I just thought that Christians were crazy, and I would always look at them with intense dislike. I guess hatred would be a strong word, but I just didn't like them at all. And then if anybody would mention Jesus, it's just like, okay, that's cool, but, keep your beliefs to yourself kind of thing. I believe in God, I'm good. I don't need any more than that. And if God really cared, I wouldn't be going through the pain that I was going through. But that was because I wasn't seeing the truth. I was blinded by all the pain and the stuff that I was going through. there was no way for me to see unless God truly intervened. But also, it took me surrendering and giving that encounter a chance. So I went to, just to see what would happen. And it just takes that little measure of willingness for God to step in and do his work in you. And it was a long process. I wasn't immediately, instantaneously healed. It took a few years down the road of just fellowshipping with God and learning who he is and having him to come dwell in me, in my heart, to have him heal me internally. But I can tell you one thing, that when I encountered God, I was never the same again. And God can do the same for you. And I know that my testimony is a little out of order. I didn't script this at all, but I want it to be as real as possible with everyone. But, and part of that testimony, and I know this is something that a lot of people are probably going to hate me for, but I have to tell you the truth. This is my experience and this is what I went through. And legally, I do have the right to believe what I believe. I have a right to my religion legally. And this is in no way to, openly offend anyone. I don't hate anyone. I love everyone now that I know God's heart. I just want to say that God did deliver me from homosexuality too. I was bisexual for quite a number of years, and this was before being gay was seen as acceptable in society now. This was years ago. I was bullied for it. I lost friends for it, There were a lot of people that didn't agree with the way that I saw myself or the way I felt, during that time. And I didn't want anyone to tell me otherwise. I thought they were just bigots. They just hated people that were different from them. That was one of the reasons why I hated Christians. I just didn't want anyone to tell me what to do or how I should be, how I should live my life, That's how, this is my real experience, this is my story. And I'm telling you that God changed me completely. I'm a different person today than I was before. I am married today, and I have 2 beautiful children. I went to Bible college because God told me to. And this is not to brag or anything like that, but these are things that I never saw in my future. I didn't see any of this in my future. I thought that I was just going to be alone forever and just die. That's basically how I saw myself. That's how I saw my life. I didn't think I had any purpose at all. And to have all the things that God has blessed me with now, after surrendering my whole heart and life to him, it's all a miracle. I have a brand new mind. I haven't been on medication for years now. I don't have to take any medication for anxiety, for sleeping, for depression, for bipolar, nothing. I don't have to take any medication at all. I've been off them for years, and I have a brand new mind. And I'm not bisexual or anything like that anymore. My whole entire being changed into a brand new person. And the only way that you could understand that is by just giving God a chance. And this is not about changing things, changing yourself. This is just about getting to know Jesus, getting to know God for who he really is and how much he loves you and how much every person needs him. Not just me, not just, some other people living a certain lifestyle. No. Everyone needs God. Everyone needs Jesus. And no one's better than another person. He loves us all equally and wants to fellowship with us and to love on us. And this is my story.